Okay, cool. Ange Percival, thanks for coming on my show.
Thanks for having me, Proctor.
Oh, I just yelled in the microphone there.
It's like old times.
I know. It does feel like, it feels like you said earlier about our commute. It feels like we're sitting like, because you would drive mostly. And then I'd be like, when are you leaving, Ange? So this is Ange Percival. A good friend of mine. I've known Ange for a long time. Maybe like 7 years or so. Just since our Terex days. I think it's like, I started in 2011. Oh, yeah, like 10 years.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We've been friends for 10 years.
Holy shit.
Cheers. Here's our 10-year celebration.
Yeah, cheers to 10 years.
10 years of friendship.
And looking in the eyes, sorry, but
yeah,
I was looking at the microphone here and everything else.
Yeah.
So Angela Percival is a professional photographer, adventurous, just like an all-around awesome person. And Whistler, Squamish, Sea to Sky, kind of, but not originally, as you might be able to.
Spend most of my time on the highway.
Yeah,
for a long time.
But yeah, Ange and I worked together at our Terex a long time ago. That's how we met, and I've been friends ever since. And just kind of like, haven't talked to you in a while, so it's been good.
It's been good that you haven't talked to me for a while.
It's been great, yeah. Now we're here.
You had a break.
Oh, damn.
We got lots of stories.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for coming on my show. It's great.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about probably a lot of things today. I don't know exactly what it's going to talk about. But you're a photographer, so it's going to probably hit on that.
Lots of fun things.
Wherever it goes, it goes. So if you have any things, if just so off the start here, so because people don't really listen very much longer than like 7 minutes of this show, because I've checked my events. So if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Proctagon. You can follow Ange at Ange Percival.
Yeah.
On Instagram. You can go to my YouTube channel. You check out Casual with Ryan Proctor. You can go to iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean, and give a review, whatever you want to do, because that'd be cool. Because people review it. I've got some good reviews, but some I don't have the best reviews. But I hide those ones, so that's fine.
This one's gonna have amazing reviews.
Yeah. So Ange, thanks for coming on my show. It's great. We've been talking about it for a bit, and then you were like, I don't know, and then a third party was, you should come on the show. Yeah. And then you hit me up, and then
I think it's because I think that only my mom really cares what I do and what I say and my opinions. But I'm super excited to be here and just have a conversation and to see you.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I think it's weird because I do this, and I think people do want to hear more than your mom wants to hear what you do. Because I mean, you put yourself out there, and people talk about you, and it's just hard. I know it's hard to feel like you. I know it's hard to feel like you have something, a voice to say or say something, right?
Yeah.
Are you really a shy person in general, or what?
I wouldn't say I'm shy. I'm very social. I love being around people. I'm really interested in people, but I think I get so in the work and what I do that I forget to. I love sharing. I love sharing photography. I love sharing where I go. I love sharing a lot of things. But I'm not highly opinionated. Right. So I also think, I listen to so many podcasts, and there's so many people that have words of wisdom and value to add. And I'm just not 100% sure that anyone cares what I say other than my mom.
Yeah, I think it takes some time. I think I've learned that as people do kind of care. So the more you do it, the more you're going to get used to it. I guess when you said, you should listen to some podcasts and stuff like that. And so Angela's been a photographer. She's traveled the world. I mean, most of the world, right? You've been in every hemisphere, you think?
Yeah, I just haven't spent a ton of time in Africa. I've been to Egypt, but But I'm leaving that till later in life.
Right, but you want to go there, yeah?
Yeah, definitely want to go there.
Yeah. Because I guess you're originally from Australia.
I am.
Yeah.
Can't go back right now.
No, you can't. Mm-mm. But I have a friend of mine who's a producer, and he's gone. I think he went there for work.
Sorry, I can go back. I just have to spend
2 weeks in quarantine.
2 weeks in a hotel, which might drive me crazy.
I spent 2 weeks in my apartment. I would lose my mind. It's crazy. I spent the last 3 years in my apartment. I would lose my mind. But that is. It must be hard. You usually go home annually, right? Because you have a big family, don't you?
Huge family.
Yeah, and they're all kind of spread out.
Yep. My brother lives in France now, but. Right. My family's all spread out, and I love being back on the beach.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
It's kind of like a great time to go home and rejuvenate, not be working. And
where are you from in Australia?
From Sydney originally.
Okay.
High school in Canberra, and then my parents live in a tiny little village called Lake Angela that actually got ravaged by the fires last year when I was there.
You were there for the fires.
I was.
That seemed like the whole country was on fire. The whole continent was on fire.
It was probably one of the worst days of my life, I would say.
I remember you posting photos of it, I think, on Instagram.
Until my phone died.
Yeah.
I think I had videos because my sisters, I couldn't even get in contact with them really. It was, and it was all happening so fast. It happened within 15, 20 minutes. My brother went in to get bread.
The fire came
Yeah,
through.
we were going out in the boat. It was New Year's Eve. My brother went in to get bread into town. And then he called me and he said, you need to get out of there. It's coming your way. And then the next thing I know, this big cloud coming. And then the fire was at the end of the street. And then it happens so fast. Like, that's the thing I think people underestimate is just how fast it happens.
Yeah, like I've never been a part of it, but I guess, I mean, you're going home for that. But the fires were happening when you went home, right?
It's funny because, not funny, but it was burning in the backlands, I would say. My parents live in a little town called Lake Conjola, which is south of Sydney. Mm-hmm. I don't have a dog.
No, I have neighbors and they have dogs. So anyway, if you like dogs barking, listen to this podcast.
Yeah, so it was kind of, things were burning, but on New Year's Eve, it just happened really fast. Like, it just came out of nowhere. We couldn't see it. The whole town that they live in, like, it was New Year's Eve, so it was full. It's the middle of summer. Gosh. The village, like, caravan park was full. There was just people everywhere.
And so, did it, like, take your family home, like your parents home with it?
No, it took all of their best friends. Oh, this is a long story.
I'm going to do this right. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. This is a long story.
You
but
you can just paraphrase if you want to, but actually we got lots of time. So
it didn't take their house. In the short version, I actually came back to the house. So we all went to the beach, and the helicopters, there was 4 of them. They were pulling water in between people because everyone's on jet skis and boats and standing in the water because it came right to the water's edge, and they were pulling big buckets of water out. And my dad actually couldn't walk, so I went back to get the bike, I think, from the house. And the pilot dropped water, like everything was on fire around the house. I was in like flip-flops and a linen dress. It was like the most absurd clothing you'd ever wear in a fire. And the neighbor was like, it's coming. And there was fires all in the backyard. I was like, I've just got to get this bike to because I couldn't lift my dad. Right. And then the pilot literally dropped a bomb of water on the bush right next to my parents' house. We made eye contact. We were so close. Wow. And I actually tracked him down, who the pilot was. He was in like this helicopter 212. And yeah, that's how fast it happened. And so that guy saved our house. And not that, so many people lost their houses, and not that houses is just stuff, but
right. It's still, I mean, it's part of the whole idea of it's one small piece of what's going on. Saving your house. Yeah.
And so many people lost their houses, and most of the village burned down, and yeah, and then we couldn't leave for 3 days. We were trapped there for 2.5 days.
That's like a real, I've never experienced something like that before in my life. That's like a real disaster. That's like a real
yeah, and it's always so different than what you imagine it to be like. So I kind of always thought in those situations you'd have the fire department running around knocking on doors. I did not see a single fire light because they couldn't get in.
Busy.
Like, it's all surrounded by bush, and so the fire came to this little village, and then everyone ran to the ocean. But they were so busy. They couldn't get in. And so it was everybody just kind of organizing themselves. It was chaos. It was utter chaos.
That's why you see like guys like on the roof with the hose. Like there's no one around. They try to save their houses. Yeah. People there doing that, trying to save their own shit, I guess.
Yeah. And you're like, that's the one lesson I've learned is like in those situations. Because we'd had a lot of discussions about like if it came when we as kids went home and mom and dad were there by themselves, like what things they could do to prepare themselves if it was coming, and watering but you have these like piddly little hoses, but the biggest thing was having buckets, because like if you got a piddly little garden hose, it's not going to do anything when you got like there's like bombs of fire like dropping everywhere, and so things were catching on fire really quickly. But buckets, I just would have had hundreds of buckets around, because that you can just put them out.
It's a big dose at once, right?
Yeah. And footwear. I was in these stupid little flip-flops, and I couldn't walk. Like I'd had to walk over the fire, and they were melting, and then I have a linen dress on, so
wait. So you were
going sideways.
You were like actively trying to get things out of the fire in like flip-flops, and like you were running into the home, and like.
Well, because I wasn't even worried about the home. It was more the spot fires. Right. Like the one thing we did, we moved the gas because things were exploding. Sure, like all you could hear is
propane
like
tanks,
things exploding.
Yeah.
And but when I ran down, like all the kind of, it was almost like pine needles. They're all on fire, but to put them out. So I put them out, and then I'd have to step over. It was still burning, and there was still embers, and I was in these. I'll never forget. Like I'm just like the most inappropriate clothing ever.
It's funny being a photographer and like having to like you try to find these moments to take photos of, but then not having your camera there and like running in. And you must have these like like specific. I would imagine you have these
Visuals.
specific, like, you know, like the front door of the house they burning, or like, you know,
Yeah.
your mailbox going up or something like that. It must be like,
I do.
I've never been there before, that kind of stuff before, but it seems like you'd have.
Yeah, the next morning, it was actually my mom's 70th birthday the next day. So like it turned midnight, everything was still burning. We like had no electricity or anything. And then the next day it was her birthday. It was the most somber 70th birthday ever. But we went around because we had to get cell service, because the last thing I said to my siblings was, it's going to go. Everything's gone. Because the fire was coming up the street. Right. And so I needed to tell them that we were okay. My brother was in town with a 1-year-old. Oh, man. He ended up swimming home, which was crazy on my mom's birthday.
We got to do the podcast at some point. That sounds it sounds awful and crazy.
Anyway, we can wrap it up. But we went to find cell service, so we drove up, and I took my camera. And I have not looked at those photos since. I took photos of the houses, and there was cars where the cars were melted and everything was still on fire. And we went to my parents' best friend's house, and their house was still burning. Like the fence is still on fire. And I just can't, I guess it's like a year ago. Yeah, it's a year and a half ago. And I haven't looked at the photos. They're too much.
I mean, the trauma of being there, like in your mindset of like, I don't want to dwell on much, but I think mindset stuff a lot. I'm like, man, I just can't think of like, you know, you said it's different when you're there, what you think of compared to what it's like when you're there, and you're like, just how basic your thoughts have to be to get certain things done.
Yeah.
Like just jump across this fire. Okay, my next step is this. I can't think about too much going on around me because I have to get, my God, I can't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we think of like the fires that happened here, and I mean, I was in Fort McMurray a few years ago for work, and I saw the devastation there. But was that your childhood home that was there?
No,
okay.
Funnily enough, my childhood home, we had fires when I was 8, and those ones are pretty traumatic. Like we were at school and the ash was falling, and we had to get evacuated from school because we lived in the national park, so it was fully surrounded. It was in a similar situation, like fully surrounded by bush, but those ones were actually more traumatic, like from an early age. Like this one I can kind of process a little more. At first I didn't realize it would have a traumatic impact. I was like, okay, this is what we got to deal with. It's like problem solving, you know. But I also have not older parents, but
your parents seem young. Your mom's 70?
Yeah, they're young for sure.
Seems
but my dad,
young.
Here's an example, fun fact, not fun, but like the fire's at the end of the street, and I was like, Dad, we gotta go, and he's picking effing tomatoes. And I was like,
you gotta eat.
Dad, leave the tomatoes. You do not eat the tomatoes. Like,
God.
Grab the photo albums.
Wow.
But I think he went into some, like he's very casual anyway, but he just went into some other zone. Yeah. And I'd run down the street. I'm like, the house down the street is on fire. You cannot pick the tomatoes.
I wonder if those things, like, you know, like when people get busy, like I know this is going to sound maybe a bit trivial, but when I get busy, sometimes I want to distract myself. I'll do laundry. I'll do things, but it's trivial, but it gets my mind off what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe in your head, you're like, that's a crazy time to do that. But like, you're like, I don't want to go pick up the photos because it make me have to realize what's happening right now.
Yeah. I don't think he realized how serious it was, but I also therefore felt like I was carrying a bit of responsibility of like, Dad, do you realize?
Wow.
Well, anyway,
how
do we get onto that? Australia.
Oh yeah, Australian fires. Because you said last time you were back was when the fires were happening.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
I try and go home a lot.
Yeah, I've never been there before. I wonder, like, going home to me is like, I had this thought, and maybe you can help me figure this out. But like, sometimes I say, I'm going home. I go back to Barrie, Ontario. I'm like, I'm going to go home because of my mom. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, in like 3 years, I'll have been here longer than I've been back there. And I'm like, what's home then? I don't have a bedroom there. Like I don't have, when I go home, I sleep in my mom's like spare bedroom where I have to like, you know, rough it. So I'm like, is that home? It's just because that's where I'm from, but is it home? Like, I don't know. Is that like, I mean, everyone, it's just like
does it feel like home to you?
It's like it feels very familiar, and like I'm used. I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm somewhere unfamiliar.
Does Whistler feel like home?
I say I'm going home when I leave Vancouver, Barrie. I say I'm going back to Whistler. I say I'm going home. So I say home both ways.
Yeah, sure.
So does it feel home? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels like, I mean, yeah, this is where I live. It's been here for a long time.
Yeah.
It's what I'm most used to. But I'm always curious when people say like, because if you went home, it's no longer the home you grew up in. Mm-mm. There's no bedroom for you there. Mm-mm. Maybe whatever there is, but there's like, it's not your shit that's in the room. It's like just some stuff. So the idea of what's home.
Yeah, I find that.
And people like, home is where the heart is. All these live, laugh, love kind of cool dumb shit everybody's making fun of right now, but like home is where you make it, I guess. But it does, like, the default term is to go home.
Yeah, that is interesting because I actually do think about Australia as being home, but it's because my parents are there, so I feel like that is home. But then I feel home is in Canada, but I actually feel really at home in Switzerland.
Right.
I have these 3 places that when I die, I hope parts of me go to all 3 places.
I'll take those there for sure, wherever you need.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
I'll spread some shit for you. Yeah. I find too, like, what was I going to say? So I think one thing I think about this is that when you think about home, like my mom lives 2 houses down from where I last lived. She moved down, okay?
Yeah.
But if my dad's passed away, if whenever this happens, if I have known, when my mom's gone, she's 80, I think I didn't, when I moved out of Barrie, I didn't think, I'm like, oh, I'll always be back. It's my house. I'll always be back. If I move out of Whistler, I might never come back here. So like I think about, oh, that's weird. Like it's a bigger thing on my mind to move out of Whistler. But then if I have my tie to Barrie is my family that's there. And if they're not there anymore, will I ever go back? Like,
or will you consider it home?
Yeah. Like what am I going back for? Like I have lots of friends. I love my friends there.
And your brother lives here.
He lives in Squamish.
Yeah.
So like, sure, home is here, I think now. But
Yeah,
like if
it's
your parents are no longer where you were, that tie, the family tie is gone. Does the home tie still count?
I wonder. I wonder if it's like where you feel grounded at the time, because I lived in Whistler for 23 years before I left to live in Squamish.
Oh right, yeah.
Which is actually
really.
Yeah.
When did you move here? When you were like 10?
17.
Really?
Or 18.
Wow,
18.
I was fucking not prepared to move anywhere when I was 18. Okay, right.
So technically, I've actually lived in Whistler longer
anywhere
than I've lived anywhere.
Yeah.
But I don't actually consider Whistler home anymore. Squamish is home.
Right.
Which is then kind of, maybe it's just where you kind of have your mini temporary roots, because who knows where I'll go again.
Like, does
it was home for a long time, but it doesn't,
Yeah.
like coming up here today, it doesn't feel like, home. Oh, I'm returning home, because my house isn't here anymore.
Like, does home have more to do with like the ties to it, or just your location where you
maybe
are?
Maybe it is the ties to it.
Because when you're in Australia, you say I'm going home, or you say I'm going back to Canada. Like when you're at home, when you're at your home in Australia, when you was burning down, and you were like, I'm flying back home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then
so
when
can
you were
have
here,
2 homes?
well, you have 2. You can refer to 2 places as home, but what's one really your home? I don't know.
Maybe it comes back to the cliche where your heart is.
Sure. Right. Yeah. For sure.
Damn cliche.
And like my heart's still. I mean, my heart's with my family for sure. So they're split across the country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never really. I've always. I mean, I have thought about it before. Like, what's home? Is it where you were, where you are, where you're born?
Yeah.
Because where I was actually
what you're connected to.
Yeah, because like I spent probably most of my years living in this town outside of Barrie, in this little farm town.
Yeah.
That was like maybe 18 years I lived there. So is that my home? That's my first house, my first home, I guess.
I think I'm not projecting this on anyone else, but I almost think it's where you feel at home, because I have no family connection to Switzerland at all.
Well,
I just love
there.
being there.
Yeah.
I love spending time there. It's like the most absurd place for me to be connected to, because I grew up on the beach. So,
right.
But I feel so at home in Switzerland, and I have no address, no family home, no.
That's why you like it.
None of that.
There's no responsibility. Just shirk it off.
I have no other connection.
I had those 2 with Japan and Spain. For some reason, I feel like, I don't know, I'll end up there somewhere at some point. But
why Spain?
I don't know. I think I went there the first time with Sweeney and CD. All right, during the Arc'teryx days, and I had a blast.
Yeah.
And then I've been back twice since to Barcelona both times, and it's pretty cliche, I guess. But like, I just think it's cool. I don't feel like I've been in a situation where things are sketchy, and I'm like, I feel fine. I don't feel sketchy at all. And then Japan just, I don't know. I mean, it just feels super calm and like super friendly there.
So do you feel at home when you're in Japan and Spain?
Yeah, I don't feel like I don't feel worried. I don't feel like I need to be. So I don't feel like I'm like trying to, like when I go to get food, I'm just going to get food. Like I'm not going to like. I just feel like I'm just walking around in a place that I know about.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I don't know why it is. Like I've been to like, I mean, lots of places, but it's just really weird. I think it's because I've been there. I don't even know why. It just seems strange.
But you have a connection.
Because they're both very different places.
Yeah.
And I had different experiences in both for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, just weird the whole idea of like what's home, what's not. But like I guess that's where you feel comfortable. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be where your like heart feels like it's resting. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I'll put it down to I think it's where I have a strong connection to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like
I was born in Australia though.
Right. So here's a question for you. So you're born in Australia, and when did you move to Canada? When you were 17?
I was 18. I just turned 18.
So then did you have the same group of friends from when you were like 0 to 18, pretty much?
No.
Like, did you?
No.
So did you go? So you changed friend groups a lot. Did you go move around?
Just 2 times. So I was in Sydney. So I have a friend group like when I was quite young there.
Yeah.
Actually, after the fires in '88, I moved. We moved to Canberra.
Okay, right.
And so then I went to high school there.
Right, because what I was going to ask you is like I've got friends who I've known since I was like say in grade 2
Yeah.
to the end of high school.
Yeah.
And then I moved out here, and now I'm out here.
Yeah.
I'm curious who knows me better.
Oh, yeah.
The friends of the first 18 years?
Yeah.
Or the friends after? I don't know. But if you moved around a bunch, it might be different. But
Well, I was just thinking about this recently, actually, that like I think that for me, I don't have strong friendship connections with the people I went to like primary school with,
right.
like early days.
Yeah.
Because then my friendship group, and I changed schools from high school to like in Canberra, it's 11 and 12, like is college.
Right.
But the girls that I traveled with from school, like we would, even after I moved to Canada, we would meet to go surfing. And
so you got a good connection there, right?
yeah. And I was just thinking the other day, I think that travel, like some of my greatest friendships and strongest friendships are people that I've met at Arc'teryx, sure, but like traveling, like just, I don't know, something about travel or adventuring together that just like bonds you, and you have a different connection of friendship than you do someone you've met at work or unless you travel and work with them.
I think that makes sense because when you're traveling, you rely on these people.
Yeah.
Like if something goes wrong, hey, can I borrow $10 if I bet, like you need to wire money, whatever. You're like, or you're in Nicaragua and things are going sideways, you got to get stuff sorted out.
And that was, these girls were end up with in Nicaragua in the dark on a road.
Yeah.
And they will be lifelong friends.
Yeah.
Like I don't talk to them all the time, but they will be lifelong friends.
Yeah. I think the same thing. Like I have friends who I met while I was traveling. I met a guy at the airport a few years ago. We talk all the time on Instagram.
Yeah.
We got hammered. I met him. We got hammered at the airport. Both our flights were delayed.
Yeah.
He was going to work in some outfit. I was going home. I was doing nothing. And we got fucking lit up for like 2 hours. And we talked a ton. Our only thing was how mad we were the plane was delayed. We were on the same plane. We're on different planes.
That's another thing that bonds people. Is like when you're delayed and you're all in the same situation and you go into the hotel and then you get on the bus to go to the hotel and there's something weird that
it's like, why are you screwed? Because I'm screwed. This plane screwed us in 4 different ways. It screwed me because you can't get to your wedding. It screwed me because you can't get to work. It screwed you because your mom's, whatever. And then it's like the same. Yeah.
But then if you were standing at the boarding gate and you just got on, you'd never talk to them.
No.
That's the weirdest thing that happened to me in Jackson last year.
Oh, because it was that big, wasn't it like stormed out? Or
yeah,
something?
It was a big storm. Yeah, right. And then we all end up talking to each other because you're all in the same situation together, and
that thing's interesting. I remember so on a plane we're not talking about photography, so you're happy with this, right? It's good.
Yeah.
So I
do photography every day.
I remember I was on a plane to Mexico. I didn't tell my mom I was going anywhere because I didn't go home to visit her that year, so I didn't want to tell her I was going to Mexico. Sorry, Mom, it's been 10 years.
Oh, that's so mean.
Well, because I go home a lot. I'm like, I feel guilty saying I'm not coming home because anyway.
Yeah.
I went to Mexico, Mom. It was awesome. I tell you a story. So I'm on the plane by myself. I'm going there for like a week and a half, and I sit beside this dude, this guy Jake. He's like, I'm like, oh, here we go. This guy's got a loud voice or something. We got hammered, and
this is not the guy you met in the airport. This is a different guy.
No, different guy. Sorry, different guy.
Oh,
So then I'm on the plane. I met this guy Jake. He's like, yeah, I'm going to Mexico. My wife's meeting me out here in a couple of days. I'm going to Puerto Vallarta because we're doing like he's delayed honeymoon or something like that. So I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. We start drinking. He's like, hey, well, where are you going? I'm like, well, I'm going to Sayulita because I'm going to surf and I got a place there. He's like, oh, well, we should hang out. I'm like, cool, I'll let you in a couple days. He goes, well, why don't you come to Puerto Vallarta first? We'll party for a couple days, then we'll go to Sayulita. I'm like, okay. So I just reroute my thing. He goes, whatever you do. He goes, when you get off the plane, you have to press. I didn't know you had to press the button, and if it goes red or green, you get pulled over no matter what. Have you seen this in Mexico?
Yeah. No, I've seen it in the UK.
It's just arbitrary apparently. It's just like boom, red, you get pulled over. So he's like, if you get pulled over, let me know. So anyway, he's like, and don't just take any ride. I'm like, all right. So we go to Puerto Vallarta. Anyway, both of us make it through. This guy, I don't fucking know this guy anyway. We end up sleeping in the same bed because he only got one bed. And I'm like, dude, I don't know this guy. So like,
see, travel bonds you.
Yeah. So this guy, Jake, if you ever listen to this podcast, I don't know, you're hilarious, Steve. Anyway, so we go to Puerto Vallarta, and then we're like, it's like,
Sorry, I'm still having a visual of you just meeting a guy and then you guys ending up in the same bed
he's
together.
like 6'2", and I'm like, 5'11". I'm like, hey man, he's like, and so we're like totally like we're duding it, we're like apart.
Yeah.
And
but you're still sleeping in the same bed as a guy you just met.
in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where we both almost got like lit up by like,
I love those.
So we go and buy this bag of like really dirt weed, like the shitty weed, right? He's like, I'm like, we're both gonna get our hands chopped off if they find us with this weed, so we have to figure out a way to do. He's like, oh, we'll go in here. So we go in a lobby of a hotel, and we smoke weed right in the lobby of the hotel, right, like imagine this place, but it's a lobby hotel, right? We smoke weed. We're like, let's figure it out. Now we're like kind of baked and stuff. We go outside. Starts pouring rain. His flip flop takes a lip flop, jumps off his foot, and goes down the drain into the sewage and goes out into the ocean. So he's like, no, and we're just hammering. So we try to chase his flip flop down. And we're like, there's a wall. If you've ever been to Puerto Vallarta, it's like it's a big cement like barrier wall that goes in like this. There's no real beach in this spot where we are downtown. Anyway, he's like, my flip flop, and we're like freaking out. So I just remember like, so we do this party or whatever, and we go to Sayulita after and sleep in the same bed again because I only have one apartment. That's what we're gonna do. But I get fucking violently ill. I eat this burrito at Burrito Revolucion. It's like a really famous place in Sayulita. And I start barfing like. I'm like, I think I ate room temperature beef.
Was he rubbing your back?
He's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, anyway, I just, the idea of that, we talked a bunch after on Instagram stuff. And I ended up meeting his wife, and she's a nice lady stuff. And they got he's like 4 kids. Now I see him on Facebook, and it's been like 10 years.
No way.
He's got 2 kids. He's old. I'm like, well, that's like, it's really interesting how your life can pass with somebody. But.
Yeah. And how those moments, I think, just create like something.
Yeah, something's hilarious like that.
That you don't get otherwise through friendships, I think.
I guess I've traveled solo a bunch in the last, I think I did that more. So traveling made me travel more. And so coming to Whistler, I didn't travel a lot when I was younger. I traveled with family and stuff like that, but I didn't do any solo traveling until I just left Ontario, moved out here. And I think traveling just teaches you to travel more.
And solo traveling.
Yeah.
I love traveling with people. Like I love, because I love sharing things with other people, but there's something about solo traveling where you can just decide what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you're also more magnetic to especially like, that's my favorite thing about travel, just random things you could never plan for happen. Especially I find I love Asia for this. Like I love being in Asia because it's just so much random chaos, and people will just walk up to you, or you'll just meet someone really randomly, and like the most colorful experiences. But I think solo traveling, like at first, especially as a woman, can be a little daunting. But
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that must be like mentally kind of have to prepare for it, right?
Yeah. But it's so incredible.
Everybody does it. Like there's tons of single female travelers out there.
Yeah. And I think you're on your own program, but you're also open to different experiences than if you're with somebody and in a conversation or at a restaurant together or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Like I went to Nicaragua a few years ago with my buddy Jeff, and I had to get my appendix out before I left. 4 days before I left Nicaragua, I got my appendix out, and they're like, "You shouldn't go." I'm like, "I know I'm going." So I got there, and I was kind of a bummer because I was kind of fucked up, and I shouldn't have been there. And they were like, "Let's go party." And then when they left, they went on a different trip, and I got my own. And I was like, "Hey," I felt bummed because they were gone, but I felt this freedom. Like, oh, now I can do whatever I want. If I want to sit on the couch and do nothing. But I was also living in a hostel where people are in your room with you. Like, hey, you want to go to this? I'm like, sure. So you just get like, if you're traveling on your own and you don't go to experience, why are you traveling on your own? The whole point is like, okay, I'll do whatever I need to do. Yeah. Where's the last place you travel on your own? Because you always do like these, like, we're going biking in Switzerland. I got like all this shit going on. I feel like you plan these big trips, but when was the last time you traveled solo, like outside of work?
Yeah, actually, funnily, it was probably to Barcelona, I would say, because took a sabbatical.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, for a bunch of months, and I went to Switzerland, and I based out of Switzerland, and then
Switzerland's easy to get to. That's how we went to Barcelona. It's super fast to fly.
So fast, and it was so cheap. It was $49 or 49 Swiss francs.
That's like still like $100.
And I hadn't been to Barcelona. My sister loves it there, and I just decided one day, you know what, I'm gonna this weekend I'm gonna go to Barcelona, and it was so incredible. I didn't take my camera with the intention of, I just wanted to experience it, because that's why I took a sabbatical, just because I'd been shooting so much and creating so much, and just like you kind of just feel like you're pushing. And actually, this is a bit random, but I took a sabbatical to do a like photo project, and in the end I was just like, I just need to refuel the soul.
Sabbaticals to get away from work. So, and work is photography.
Yeah.
So.
But there's so many personal projects I want to do and I don't
Sure.
have time to do them. So in the year, and like our seasons move so quickly together. So I really wanted to use this time I had off. It was like a gift. And in the end, I was like, I just really want to like put input, because creativity is so much about like you're just constantly doing output. And I think it's so important to. And so I went to all the kind of famous places in Bus. I had the best time by myself.
Good, right?
And I traveled. This is actually the best part. I traveled with a little satchel. That was it.
Right.
I went for 7 days.
Oh, sweet.
And so I didn't have any luggage.
That's
which
the best way.
It was such a...
Yeah.
For me, like, you know, usually traveling with so much luggage and a lot of times by myself. So I'm hauling bags around just to travel with this like little... It was like a little Valence backpack.
That's pretty good. Valence, yeah.
It was amazing.
I think those things that's like, I've been to Croatia. I went there by myself, 2016. I just took a backpack and slept on the beach and screwed around and stuff. And I just was like, it's fun to have things with you. I've never gone on a trip where I've gone mountain biking, but I've gone on trips where I've gone skiing. You're just like, oh man. And the anticipation of going somewhere cool with the gear you have is great. But the anticipation of like, I'm light and I can just put this bag on my back and it's got like a, a pack of smokes, a beer and some pretzels and we're good to go. Like for the day, it's pretty cool to have that like, there's freedom, and then there's also like the freedom of movement. There's freedom to travel, and there's freedom to do what you want. But there's also like the freedom of like, I don't have any tie downs. There's just like this 6 pounds on my back is all I have.
I feel like when you travel with like sporting gear or toys, you're a little more restricted of like how many. You can't just go. That makes me think about. We did a trip a bunch of years ago in the Philippines, and we went to a place and we took all our kiting gear and our surfboards.
Right.
And it was kind of like, but we wanted to go to multiple islands because there's so many islands in the Philippines.
There's like thousands or millions, isn't there? Yeah.
And I felt like we had to really reduce how many places we want to go just because hauling that much gear around. And it was amazing. It was worth every level of effort to be able to like surf in the morning and kite in the afternoon, like when the wind came up.
Yeah.
But to be able to, but it takes so much more effort than just jumping on a plane or going walking.
I think there's this thing where like there's satisfaction with planning, and I know you're a planner because you have to plan these trips you do. Yeah. But like there's a satisfaction with planning something elaborate. There's also a satisfaction of planning nothing and just going and seeing what happens. I think there's like
totally, and
I don't think there's very many people who can do both.
Yeah, the spontaneity of it.
Yeah, and like I've traveled with ski gear and stuff. And like the idea of when you're with gear, like you're anticipating to use the gear. Like, hey, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna take this gear. I'm gonna use it. We travel with a backpack. Like, hey, I don't have anything to use. What am I gonna do when I get there? I'm just gonna look around, I guess, and go for a walk and just go maybe try to find something.
Yeah,
like it's a different mindset for sure.
It is a different mindset. I totally agree. Yeah. And I think another mindset shift is being on a bike and that be your travel mode. Like that was kind of a new experience for me too.
I've never done that before. So you did that in Switzerland? You guys traveled? You guys biked around, or what?
We did, but it's pretty easy in places like I lived right on the border of Switzerland and Italy and France. So basically, like on a weekend, we'd bike into France and then into Italy and then back. So that was kind of travel. But we went to the northern India Himalaya. We went into the Zanskar and we biked through the Zanskar, like right at the end of my sabbatical. Right. So we biked for 1,000 kilometers for 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Like to the border of Pakistan and then like through this remote area that's about to be connected by road. Mm-hmm. But that was the crazy part is when you're on a bike, you didn't have a choice of like, you're kind of on the road and all you have with you is on the bike.
That's pretty cool.
So that took another dimension to travel and adventuring and
it's like there's that because at that point you have to pre-plan. You have to pick your route and kind of go places, right? Yeah. So you have to pre-plan. But like, I think I've been to Europe a bunch of times. I think the idea of like because it's so easy to travel at the minute right now, clearly. But like, you hop on a plane. Like when I was in Croatia with this German couple, they were like 80. We got hammered. It was so awesome. They were so lovely. Yeah, they were old. I was like, are you guys okay? Like, we have to call someone. They're like, nah, we're just. They came from Germany. Their accents were thin, but they were like, we just come for the weekend to Croatia. It's like $50 for each of us to fly. Yeah. So that's just the idea of like mechanized travel in Europe seems pretty simple, but the idea of like pedaling and traveling around on a bike seems also somewhat normal because everything's so close and it's kind of old school ways and you can kind of get around, right?
That's actually Europe wins in that, and especially Switzerland. Like you can do hut to hut by bike.
Yeah.
Like you're taking your day pack. It's amazing. And then
hut to hut from here to like Saskatchewan in Canada. You have to fucking go forever.
Yeah. That was amazing. The fact that we could bike, do a bunch of like up, down, like, you know, single track epic missions, and then you're staying in a hut.
Right.
And then you're getting full 3 meals, like dinner, and then sleeping in a bed with a duvet. You have to bring a sheet. Like, honestly, that level of travel is amazing too.
That's cool. Because
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Do you feel obligated though sometimes to take pictures when you're on traveling?
You know,
For your own brain
it's
to be
funny. I
like-
just got asked that the other day, and I hadn't thought about that for a
Oh,
while.
then I don't want to ask the same question.
No,
Else asked
let's
you.
talk about it, because
cool.
it's actually. I've been when I get asked a question, I think about it for a while. So actually, I don't feel obligated to. I can separate the two. And I especially, because I shoot what I love to do anyway, I think it's so important for me to, like, I spend, you know, like, I'm a full-time in-house photographer, so I could be shooting every day of the week if I want. And some weeks I'll have multiple shoots in a week. So to take a weekend, and I don't want to take a picture. I just want to be there. I want to be with my friends. Like, if I do a kite surfing trip, I'm not going to shoot it. I'm just going to be there, because I love being there and experiencing it as much as I love taking photos of it. There's certain places that I've gone or want to go that I actually only want to go there with a camera.
Right.
Like, that's like really intentional. But I feel these days that I love being in it without a camera as much as I love shooting it.
I mean, it would keep your brain, it keeps your like enthusiasm going too.
Yeah.
Do you feel like
and your creativity?
Yeah. Because you're not trying to, you're not like, I'm going to say it in a second here. You're not like, using your creativity. You're just letting things happen to you. Like, you're not like you're not trying to be creative. You're just letting creativity hit you in the brain. You're just absorbing ideas rather than like, you're not, I was going to ask you if you like you, without your camera, you can experience things. You're not thinking, you're just like experiencing what's going on. So you learn, like, you can just kind of like absorb what's ever happening around you. But then, if your phone's in your pocket, do you feel like it's even worth taking a picture with your phone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You think so?
100%.
Okay. As a photographer, I feel like, you know, you got this thing in front of your face all the time, but like, I know phones are great now. I mean, obviously this is working because my podcast films so well.
Because you're filming.
But like, I'm just curious if you think, sometimes on my phone, I have an icon here. I'm like, it's not worth taking a picture of my phone right now. It's not going to do it justice.
See, I got so many thoughts about just that one sentence. Like, okay, I'll start with being in the moment versus shooting it.
Sure. Yeah.
Is I can't be half in, half out. Like, if I'm going to shoot it, I did a bike trip a couple of years ago to Greece with a bunch of women, and I photographed it for the company Big Mountain Adventures, who does it.
Chris Winter.
Yeah. And I was going to go on the trip anyway, and he said, do you want to take pictures? And I was like, okay, but I'm going to be one thing or the other. Like, I will enjoy it and I still have fun, but I either want to be fully off, or I'm going to be all in, because I don't want to come back with half of the trip documented. I want to be like fully in photo mode. Yeah. So I kind of have like an on and an off switch, I guess. But on that respect, I see all my experiences as if I was shooting them. Right. But that comes pretty effortlessly.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, you think in camera mode. Like, you must.
Yeah.
You must be like, right.
Like, when I was in Switzerland that year, I actually part of it's the weight too. I just didn't want to carry around all that.
It's like 70 pounds
heavy
difference.
Gear all the time. And I wanted just to go with my phone. And to answer your last part of the question is like, there's so much, I think you're more creative if you have one tool and you have to use that one tool. Like, I think people use cameras and lenses and totally as a crutch. But
isn't it like having the most, like, my thought is, it's like having a crutch, but a crutch with gas in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a crutch that's like...
It depends what your purpose of your photo is, though. Like, if your photo is purely... The only reason I got into photography is because I wanted to remember everything I was doing.
And when you were doing it, there was no... Phones weren't in your pocket.
No. Right. And it wasn't with intention either. It was just like, I want to go do this thing. I actually think I kind of blame maybe the reason I got into photography is because I just have really bad memory, and that I wanted to capture all those things in that experience that were happening. Right. And therefore I'd take a photo of it so I could remember it. So whether it's my phone or my big fancy camera that can produce like billboard size images, I don't know. It's the experience that counts.
Right.
And I think I've always believed that, like, as a guide, guides go to so many amazing places, and athletes, like, the photography is the easy part. You just have to be there. Yeah. Like, that's the most powerful part.
That's the thing is, like, do you think, so when you're not shooting, I know we talking about photography here, but not so much. We're talking about just like your mindset. Do you think and like, oh, if I was here, if I took, I'd have to have stop this. Like, do you think when your brain's looking at an image and your camera's in Canada and you're in Australia and you're like, this would be like ISO this, and now you're just like, this looks cool, and you just like,
I just like, I want to capture that, so I have it forever.
Right.
Moment.
I guess it sounds like there's a bit of a line. I mean, I wonder how many photos are on Instagram from a phone or from a camera now. Like if you took the last, like say 3 years of Instagram, maybe or 3 years, whatever, 2 years, whatever, but not long, because not from back in the day, but like, because I know a lot of photographers will take a photo from their camera, process and put it on their Instagram. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like, obviously it's better than what a phone could do. But I wonder what, out of all the, if you took all the professional photographers that shoot daily or whatever it is, on Instagram and just took everybody else away and we're like, hey, how many photos do they have from their phone or how many photos do they have from their camera? It would be like 90-10%. It'd be 90% camera, 10% phone.
Yeah. But
does that do justice for what we're looking at in our world?
Well, I think that's a little more complex than being so black and white.
Answer it for me, Ange. Tell me.
Well, a big reason is that Instagram is used as a portfolio these days. So you don't want to put on your whole Instagram channel photos you've taken for your phone if you're trying to get clients.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So therefore, there is no, I mean, maybe in the fashion world, but there's no flat portfolio anymore. No. So what else do you have other than a website? But that would be a second jump for a person that's looking to hire a photographer. It is interesting because I look at my Instagram feed and mine's like, whatever I think of at the moment, I think of the caption within 10 seconds taking the photo. I don't plan things. I just take a picture, put it up. Yeah. This podcast obviously different, but like I take a photo that photo caption's been thought of in like the first 10 seconds. So you're saying it's instant? Yeah. Yeah, good one. Thanks for coming on my show. But this kind of Ryan Proctor. We're done with Ange here. It's not like, so instant for photographers, though, I would say. But then, so what I guess is like, I guess what I'm saying, I guess I'm curious of Instagram, and I think about it a lot, but it's just like the instant is gone. It's just gram in some respects. Yeah, do we want to go down the we Instagram have to get that deep. No. I'm just curious, like, because I guess you put so much planning in to go and take a photo. Like you spend hours, even just like from like how much gas, where's the hotel going to be, everything else to get these photos you need, right? Yeah. And then we're all supposed to have this like idea of like what life's happening right in front of us. Yeah. And it's this, I just have a hard time when, I like when someone has two. This is going to sound. No, I love this conversation. I can't wait to get into it. I like when photographers have a personal Instagram account and their own, and then a different account. Yeah. I like watching them just be very staunch about how they're going to leave the stuff on their personal account to like what's happening in the moment, things like that. And the professional account, for sure, have a portfolio. It's great. You have to. If you don't, you're not doing it right. Mm-hmm. But I'm just curious how you decide what's kind of like where you're going to put things on yours, because your Instagram's curated, it's great, but do you like if you put up you're a photographer, so if you put up a photo of like you took in your living room of like a cat doing something funny, you know what I mean, like is that would you do that? Like, okay, so I can talk personally, but then I'd say I would say I'm not the norm. Like I should be doing way more of Instagram, but the way I look at I'll give you my honest where I'm at today is that Instagram, I love Instagram. People don't have good relationships with Instagram. They get really angry at it, but I think it's amazing. I think it's such a great tool. And I actually love the engagement of it. I love being in there. I love like talking to the community. But I see it as I see it as a tool right now because I just cannot service that all the time. I just can't like I think because I'm not servicing like I'm not out there to take photos for Instagram. I'm out there to do a job. I happen to be really lucky that my job is something I love to do anyway. Right. So I love your job. You do it all the time. It's like 24/7. I'm a bit of a workaholic, but that's because I love it so much, and I get so absorbed in the work that I forget about this super fun. It's like a social side, you know, and then I forget about Instagram being instant, because I can't post things right away that I shoot because there's embargoes they're in future seasons. So then I just forget by the time like a year's come around, I'm like, oh, I can post that thing. It goes up. Yeah. That said, like, so I'm so much more focused on the work. I like the likes and sorry, that's okay. The likes and Instagram, like that's kind of second to the work I do. And I forget that the photos I take until I'm in an REI and I'm like, oh yeah, I took that photo, and I forget, like there's a disconnection there for me. But
I have an idea about that. Sure, go ahead.
but as like if my job was just to be on, man, I think that'd be the best job ever, honestly.
Yeah.
Just to be on Instagram and be shooting kind of real time.
Right.
But it has to be curated because most of the days I'm not on my phone. I'm not in cell service.
Right.
Like, so there's kind of, and I think that's okay because different people, like it started as Instagram, and I think people that are stuck on that it being still instant is
Not me. Not me.
it's just the definition has changed because
Yeah.
and for photographers it's a totally different definition than someone day to day who honestly, if I could just shoot my day, it'd be a freaking rad feed of like what I do.
Right.
And I did have one for a little bit that I did for my family.
It's too much work.
Just so they knew where it is, but I just can't. I can barely do one channel.
I guess I had a couple things I want to ask. So one thing is,
that was a bit of a rant. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Not a rant, but just
it's great.
Honest.
Yeah, I think, and I think I know why that's the case is because I just solved this. I just solved it, Ange. Is because when I see photographers, I don't know any staff photographers who aren't out there trying to find work.
Yeah, yeah.
So everybody I know is freelance, like here's my portfolio to show what I'm doing. And that's right, it's portfolio. You have to make it fucking money or it's not going to work. But you're like, and I'm not saying this in a bad way at all.
Yeah.
You have a job that's like, you are a staff photographer.
Yeah, yeah.
So as much as you want people to see your work and get those other jobs, you're like, I
don't need to do it.
Yeah. You're like, this is to showcase me because I want to, not because I have to try to get this work. If you're a freelance, it'd be a different story, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where you're like, because I also know, you don't.
What?
Your Instagram drives me insane because I'm like, who is that skiing? I'm like, I don't know. You never tag anybody.
I'm really.
I'm not calling you out, sorry.
Okay, I'm so bad at Instagram.
Sorry.
I'm trying to become so much better because I love it so much.
But what I'm saying is like,
you know why that is?
It's because I get mad at people due to I'm like, I don't think I would. I have a hard time tagging people because I'm like.
No, I need to tag people because these people have skied in front of my camera, climbed or done, and they're
sorry,
amazing.
I'm just kidding.
People.
She tagged everybody. I didn't mean to yell.
Sorry, Forrest Coots. I didn't tag you on Monday.
I saw that. I didn't know who that was, but
you know why that is? Just like, let's just stop for a second.
Yeah.
The writing part of it, like the captions, I honestly, and then I get busy doing something else, and they just go up.
Yeah,
because I have to do it. I have to do it in advance.
Right. I'll write captions for you. I'll write captions for you for sure.
No way.
I love writing captions. I take a photo. I take a photo so I can make a caption.
Are you kidding me?
My whole point is to make the caption because my photos are kind of shit. I can make a caption like that and I put it up.
Are you kidding? Do you know the reason why I have been so bad at Instagram is because I'll put something up and I'm like, I have no caption. I don't even know what to say. It's just trees. I really like it. It's trees. I should just say that. But it paralyzes me. Instagram paralyzes me to share, and I love sharing.
I'm the only. I love the caption.
Okay.
And sometimes the caption, no captions on purpose because I think it's funny to have no caption.
Yeah.
But like, only one caption have I ever spent longer than 10 seconds on, and it was this caption I made about this puddle down the street. And it was a long story about how
it took you 10.
It took me 2 months to write the caption, and it's amazing. But the photo sucks. It's a shitty photo.
I think we're gonna be a good team.
But I love the caption part because only because I think. Not everyone's a great photographer, and if you can balance out a bad photo with a real like what that photo is and a good caption, it could change things. Because storytelling happens in a photo, but it also happens in words because that's where it first started. Well, not first started. Storytelling happened in pictures first, for sure, or in drawings, whatever it is, or hand signals, whatever it was, or a fire and stuff. But like, I think that communication can be almost like can be singular in that aspect where the photos are great, but then the caption's amazing or the photo's amazing. Because you take great photos, you don't only have to take captions. I mean, you don't have to caption.
Yeah, but back to your story.
I was always just curious about why you didn't sometimes.
Yeah, it's just a lack of time spent on that.
Right.
And it's not that I don't have the time. I just rather be outside than doing that. And it's writing for me is hard.
Right.
Like I made myself start a blog, and I love doing it, but the writing part is hard because if I was just talking to you, I'd tell you what it was. But like I have so many photos that are ready to be shared, but they're just blocked because I'm just not I'm just not sharing them. And the stories, there's so many stories behind those photos.
You must have, like, I have stories. I've done shit. You must
have
so
many stories. That whole Zanskar trip,
I
did that purely for me and wanting to do it.
Right.
And because I'd wanted to do it for a long time, and it wasn't a work trip, and those images I haven't shared a single one yet.
Oh, well, you should share them.
it's coming.
It's just tough because I get it. Like again, you're in that situation where you're like, you're sharing out of joy, not out of commerce, not trying to make, you're not, you could have no Instagram and still be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
No, not in a bad way, but
yeah.
your job, and you've been doing it for so long that you're like, you're incredible at it, and you're an asset that's beyond what they should understand. But your Instagram is like, it's like mine. It's fun to have because you like doing it.
Yeah.
Not because if you don't do it, you're not going to get a gig.
It's
hard.
It's also not a real deadline. Like I have, every week I have real deadlines, and we move so fast in seasons. Like I finish one season. I just will finish winter tomorrow, Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then basically start summer on Thursday. So it's kind of as the priorities go.
Sure.
It's the one I want to do a lot, but it's the one I don't do because the other things have real deadlines. Like if my Instagram doesn't get captions, it will just go out anyway.
Yeah, which is good. I think
even stories. Actually, just back to the stories part. I love the stories on Instagram.
Instagram stories? Oh, yeah.
Well, right. I have like a full photo album full of...
I got a friend of mine named Connor. Connor, dude, cool it on the Instagram. He sends me so many. He's like, I'll wake up. I'm like, you have 10 messages from Connor. It's been like 20 minutes. I'm like, it's all he gets stuck on Reels. He sends me the funniest shit. I'm like, dude, you gotta like come. And then I'm like, boom, I fire out to everybody I know. It's yeah. Stories and Reels are but I'm a real stickler on some things. If you look at someone's story, right, and you're like, hey, like say it has like tiny ticks, like 100 stories, I'd say I'm not watching all those. But if you've got like 5 stories, I'm like, I'll check them all out. But I'm not going to be like, what's happening now? Like, and even if I haven't, excuse me, beer.
That's a burpy beer.
I know, but everyone's used to it. But you don't stories. Do you think that there's a story behind the stories? Like the story's like that little video you make.
Yeah.
It's supposed to build up as a story of what's going on.
Yeah.
But there's you don't have to have captions for those, so it's probably right up your alley.
Yeah, that's
But it's
true.
less time sensitive. It's more time sensitive, I feel like stories are.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I just got back from Alaska, and it was an amazing trip, and I have these incredible videos, and I've actually told the stories to my friends, you know, when they're like, how was the trip? And you're like, amazing. You should have seen what we did. You should have seen what I got, this plane ride I had. Like, it was ridiculous. I almost died.
Yeah.
And then I'll send them the video, but I actually haven't put those up yet. But I should, because it's free. That's how I would share it to the world. Mm-hmm. I kind of want it to be a little more like thought about rather than just to give people context. Actually, I think that's what I struggle with. Is I want to, if you're doing a bit of story, like if you're doing 5 story frames, I want to give context. Otherwise, why are we falling off a glacier on this plane? I mean, you're a storyteller. I mean, you try to tell a story in your photos. Like, if you're trying to tell as much of a story in one photo as you can, right? Every time. So when you're putting up a video, I have the same way too. Like, but I also feel there's a bit of like, I said it before, I use this term a lot, but imposter syndrome. You're like, is this really worth sharing? Totally. But I also think sometimes I share too much where I'm like, this is like, I assume maybe I'm showing off on stuff, you know? Yeah. And I find that like, I feel like I sense unintended attitude from people who post a lot of stuff. And I'm like, you don't have to follow me on this road because I'm going to post but I feel like I'm like, you know, people post like my vacation better than your life, that kind of stuff that used to happen on Facebook a lot. I'm like, fuck you guys that's not fair to anybody. Like, and it's just showing off. It's not trying to be funny. And I show off trying to be funny all the time. I bombs a bunch, but like, sometimes I just feel self-conscious of like, should I post this? Because I've been posting a lot of cool things that I'm doing, and this whole thing of share the bad days. No one's gonna do that. Yeah. Like, do you find that? Do you have a conscience, or like, do you feel self-conscious sometimes sharing? Oh, 100%. That's why I haven't shared the Alaska. Which is crazy because, like, you're really, I mean, you're celebrated. It's guilt. You're good at it. I feel guilty. Right, I'm like, I just went to Alaska in the middle of a pandemic, and I flew in these Super Cubs that dropped us to the top of. Like, I feel guilty about it, and but when I post it, like I feel like it's a couple of things. Like, and I actually have a friend that I feel guilty about the things that I get to do, and I feel so lucky, but I'm so grateful for those things. But I have a friend who works in the oncology unit in Squamish, and I said, like, you're saving the world. I decorate it. Like, I take photos of it. And so I kind of feel guilty when there's people working in hospitals and doing the things they do. And I feel guilty about putting that out there. But she came back to me with, you're what keeps me inspired.
Escape,
like, at
right.
the end of the day, when I come home and I've had a lot of cancer patients, like, that's what I need to keep going. And yeah, I appreciate that. And I love hearing that, because otherwise I feel guilty putting some of these things out there.
It's really hard to like accept your role in humanity. Like, it's hard to accept if you're doing something that you love to do, that's part of your role. Like, it's part of your role to be like, and I have a hard time doing that too, because I'm like, I love doing this, but I don't do it a lot because I feel guilty doing it. I'm like, I should be doing something more.
Yeah.
And I feel like, but there's a part where like someone's like, you know, am I creating a service? Well, if I can make someone laugh or spit out their milk, or, you know, tell someone you gotta check this out, that's part of maybe my role. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overexaggerating, but I feel like, but it's not to discount what you're doing, but it's good to be humble to know that people are doing a lot more. Like, yeah, you're saving the world. Yeah. But then if you give someone a laugh, like, what's that Patch Adams movie with I almost said Brian Adams for something.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
With he's not around anymore.
Yes.
But like
the comedian.
Yeah, the idea of Robin Williams, the idea of like humor and stuff like that, and making people laugh, you know, it changes your biorhythms, changes who you are as a human and stuff. So maybe your role, you need to just understand that your role is to show those inspirational things and do that way.
This is getting kind of deep all of a sudden, but
give me more beer. I ate some acid earlier, so
it's something actually that I've been with Arc'teryx for 16 years now, and
wow, really?
Yeah,
holy shit.
And shooting full time for the last 8, probably even longer than that, I guess, like 10 maybe. And I've hit a point where I did this amazing project a couple of years ago called Problem Solvers, where we went and went and told stories about people that are using design to solve.
The guy, because I interviewed, sorry, so the
Craig
guy who's
DiMartino.
Yeah, he's building the hoof, like
the prosthetic foot.
Yeah,
for climbing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then we went to Mongolia and did a project with UNICEF on pollution, because they have the highest rate of infants dying of pneumonia in Mongolia, because they use coal, because there's so many people moving to the city, and they use coal in their yurts, and that's the only source of heating, and the winters are really cold, so it has a huge pollution. Anyway, I'm getting deep into those stories, but but for doing it so long, I've hit a point where I want to use my photography as a source to either tell stories that need telling to help people, or, you know, and I feel guilty, like 2 of my 3 siblings work for nonprofits, and so they kind of help the world, and I decorate it, and I work for a company that makes amazing jackets. But I think I'm kind of struggling a bit with that battle of like doing things that using photography for the purpose of good versus the purpose of consumption.
Right.
And I try and look at that through the lens of like my only purpose in the world, like my goal in life. Well, this got really deep all of a sudden, but
you can stay shallow if you want to, but yeah.
My goal in life is just to inspire people.
Right.
Like, that's purely what I love doing.
And that's what it needs to be then, because if you can inspire someone just to be who they are, and that person's a nurse, and they can go back and save someone's life, because even like it's kind of like, if you understand your place on the planet and what you've become to do, is that enough? And it is. Unless you're like a thief or a felon or something, that's different. But even then, there's people with good hearts who do crazy shit. But like,
I think it's harder coming to terms with, it's like, that doesn't feel enough.
Right.
And so that's why I feel guilty about it. But I think I'm kind of like wrestling that internal monster a bit right now to become okay with that. Like, because I'm not, helping cancer patients, and I'm not helping remote education in Myanmar, and I'm not helping human trafficking on fishing boats in Thailand like my brother is. Like, so there's, I think if I can do both things, if I can use it as a tool for inspiration and then still have an impact, that would be my perfect scenario.
Just think about this, and think about all art went away. Think about if all art went away.
Yeah.
Well, our world would be like, people still being lies, but there'd be no inspiration to succeed and be better at things. Like, there'd be no music, there'd be no art that keeps you, like, if someone comes home from a hard day of saving lives and they listen to their favorite song that keeps them uplifted, they go back to work the next day, that shit wouldn't exist. So then what would happen? Like, I think there's I use the word entertainment a lot, but people need to have the outlet. And if you're the one who provides the outlet to allow that person, I mean, it doesn't mean you're better than that person. It doesn't mean because you're not a police officer, you're not a doctor, but if that doctor, police officer goes home and goes like, man, I want to watch my favorite show so I can just relax, and allows them to go back tomorrow to the next thing. Like, it's hard to, I'm like, I feel guilty sometimes because I didn't pick a better thing to do with my life, do more of service. But like, the wind is of service, the sun is of service. Like, these things are happening that are of service to us that we don't really think about. So,
and being I think it's really hard to learn to be comfortable with, okay,
if you're not aware of what if you're not aware of what you're saying right now is beautiful, because if you're not aware of that, it changed everything. If you're like, if you're just some kind of like, if you don't think your art's helping people and you're not aware that people have a hard time in their life, But
do people really need inspiration? That's what, like, I ask these questions in my head. Okay, if my single purpose, just by nature of kind of how I've got here, I just love inspiring people. I love going out and taking photos because I actually want to take the world with me to those places I go to. Yeah. And I think about like my parents who live at the beach. If I could, sometimes when like this trip that I was just on, like it was -30 in the sun and we're in these little planes.
Gross.
And, like, for an Australian, that's gross. And then if I could just have them with me to be like, look how amazing this world is.
Yeah.
Like that's all I want to do. But is that enough? Like,
well, because you're showing somebody how amazing the world is, that person could save a life to make that person experience the amazing world. Like, there are things that are.
Do we need inspiration, though?
If you weren't,
do humans need inspiration to survive?
Of course. Of course they do. Because imagine people are inspired to become a doctor. They go, I want to become a doctor. It's fine. Like, you need to have an inspiration of some sort. Just just stay alive. Like, just be a human and have like, to not die of like despair. You can die of despair. They can have like, people who are happier are healthier. So,
like mental health.
Yeah. Like, if your brain can, so things like, I'm not discounting, or I'm not, what's the opposite of discounting? More counting? Teachers are important. I'm glad somebody's inspired to be a teacher.
I'm just here for inspiration.
Yeah, I'm just here for the jokes. But like,
the opposite of discounting. So wouldn't it just be supporting?
We'll be counting.
What's your sentence?
Well,
my mom's an English teacher. I should know.
My sentence is, I don't want to discount what you're saying. I want to like
build up.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, this isn't a grammar podcast, but I'm saying is that people need inspiration no matter what they do, you know? And you can be like, you know, think about the guy who's like, he's working at a gas station, but he's inspired to be a musician because he listened to Led Zeppelin 20 years ago. You know, the inspiration's there. And it brightens people's lives. If I can make someone laugh, if people listen to this podcast and they laugh, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things, because I'm like, that means they had 10 seconds to go like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to, you know.
Yeah. That's what I've always liked about you, actually. I think we talked about that in one of our first conversations commuting. We spent a lot of hours together now.
I used to commute back to Arcteryx for like.
From Whistler to Vancouver.
You know what? I hate commuting
every day.
People. I turned down everybody else. I was like, I don't want to commute. But Angela's like, you want to commute? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to commute, because
we solve the problems of the world.
Yeah. Or we create our own. Now we're just fucking yelling about it right now. But like, yeah, I think. I appreciate you think that I brought humor.
Well, because I remember you saying that if you can make somebody laugh, because laughter is the best thing in the world. And I remember when you and I wanted to even say Mike Berard wanted to make a comedy show. Yeah. And because you guys love to just make people laugh. And I think laughing is as important as
I think so too.
Being inspired.
I think there's parts.
Laughing's like one of the best things to do in the world.
When you're laughing, you're not mad.
No.
And you've forgotten what's. I just think there's a need to see things that make you smile. Yeah. There's a need to hear things that make you smile. To do things that make you smile. There's things that do things that make you cry. Things to see things that make you cry. Yeah. You need to have every emotion. Yeah. And so if I can create laughter and you can create some kind of like sense of emotion or like inspiration.
Maybe it can evict emotion.
I think there's if you can evict an emotion from somebody, that's what you love doing, that's your role. You know, actually, and I realize I've never publicly shared this, but the one like to say inspiration is the goal is like the more PR version of it, but for me it's always been like I wanted to create photos that give somebody an emotional buzz. That's how I've always thought about it. Cause I actually get the people that I looked up to, like Paul Morrison being one, his photos gave me an emotional buzz. Yeah. That guy's, I gotta get him on my podcast. He's
you have to get him. Yeah.
Get them baked and hang out. Sorry if I don't do that. I'm just joking about you. I'll get baked.
And like I actually don't look a ton in the ski industry. I look a lot at like conflict or war humanitarian photographers because not necessarily emotional good buzz, but like the stuff they shoot is so powerful. Like one image is so powerful. Yeah. And I just do it in a outdoor lovely land.
That's beer. That's Pilsner shit,
You should
man.
start the limoncello.
Well, I'm trying to get Coast Mountain to sponsor me, but I don't know if that's burpee. But yeah, Ange, but I think there's like what you're doing doesn't
Coast Mountain, but you're drinking Pilsner.
Well, because it's $12 for 8. I'm unemployed right now, so.
I thought you were saying Coast Mountain's making you burpy.
No, I wanted to sponsor me, so I don't have to burp on this stuff all the time. But I think though, it all plays a role. Like when you talk about these photos you love that are in conflict, that kind of stuff, and you're seeing these photos seem more important to you, right? Mm-hmm. Sure, they're more important on a global scale and to like kind of change the tide of what's happening in our world and how there's some atrocities that we shouldn't be experiencing or witnessing. But there's also we have to show the good side of life because if you don't have that, you just live in darkness the whole time. It's crazy. Like how can you? So I'm just trying to say like don't think what you're doing doesn't have impact, and don't imagine like anything less than what you're doing has a huge impact on people. Because when someone can like, oh, I want to do that one day. That one day gets somebody out of some shitty spot.
Yeah, I hope that. I hope that's it. I hope I'm not just like my photos don't just inspire skiers or bikers. They inspire somebody that has yet to experience those things.
Think about that photo I saw of Luka Lindic on that this fucking huge ice. You were in somewhere, yeah.
No
and
way.
I was like, so I look at that, and I'm sure I'm biased because I've seen it all, else, but I'm like, it looks that photo to me shows his faith and his decision making in a spot that is so unpredictable that you just decide to do it. Like, and even like those things like shots of anybody doing things that are like in a precarious situation where even if you see them, you know, you're testing stuff, it inspires people to just take a chance. And some people don't survive their chances, but some that do change the world. So I think everything has its place as long as you go at it with a chance of humbleness and not thinking that like, as long as you don't think you're going to change the world, you might change the world. You know what I mean? Not unless you're going to, but like,
I'm not going to change the world.
I'm not going to.
I just decorate it.
I'll change my shirt every day. That's what I do. But like, I think there's just, you need to, even if your photo inspires someone to look at somebody else's photos, then it helps them. Like, I think it's a good thing.
I think too, it's not just on the action sports realm for me. Sure. Like the inspiration part, it's not just getting people out there biking or skiing or like kiting or surfing or whatever it is, or climbing. It's more, and this like I haven't thought too deeply about this part because I just love to do it, so it's a little more surface level. But it's like putting these people in the bigger world, because when you're out there in the backcountry of the mountains, like you're so small.
Things are tiny,
and we are so insignificant, and we think we're super important. Yeah. But like we are not. Even like whenever I go to northern BC from here, like we think Squamish, Vancouver, Whistler's like super important, and there's a whole like 1,500 kilometers north of where we're sitting right now that's got nothing in it but other people living lives, you know, where we think we're. And so I love putting like that picture you say of Luka. I love putting people small in the world, which has kind of become a bit more popularized like in the last bunch of years, but I think it gives people a greater respect for the world too. Yeah,
I guess one thing too is like
inspires like around the environment as much as the action. I
think we get used to things, so now people are used to the small person, big world. Yeah. But at one point that inspires, and it still has the same meaning. It's just been seen enough times where it has less impact, but the meaning is still there. Yeah. So if you're someone if you see you gotta drive, I guess, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't gotta drive. I'm just joking. Rack them up. I just think that. I guess I'm worried about the volume of the sameness. Like the volume of and it comes, but then again, it comes from inspiration that we've seen so many of the same thing now. Everyone's inspired to do the same thing. So like, because I'm a Chris Picard, for example, it's an easy example to go to, but that's inspiration. He's like, what am I doing with this one photo of a guy in a small spot? He inspired millions of people to take that same picture, and so. And it was simple as that. So when you think about what's inspirational, it could be anything, you know? Like,
yeah. And I almost wonder, now that you've said that, I almost wonder if for me it went the reverse. It wasn't so much the small person in the big landscape. It was like the world, like, you know, that ice. Like that ice was so incredible. It was like, you know, 300 meters tall or something, and it was so wide, and no human was in there. Like we had to snowmobile in to get there, and we just happened upon it really randomly. But like that, the world is so incredible. But then you put a person in it to give it context.
When you think about who Luca is, I think you put a big person in a small situation. Like that's too, right? Like you think about the people who there's people who are big people, like personality wise. Like Will Gadd's a big person personality wise. So he matches. If he's this big in the photo, he still matches that big landscape. I think, right?
Like him in the in Niagara Falls when he climbed
or even the
Falls.
Helmkin Falls thing. Like he's his who that person is as big as the landscape around him, you know? So that's kind of, I never thought about that before too, but like we put people in these spots because they're big enough to take the chance to go to that big space. You know, if someone's standing on the end of a bridge, it's like, you know, some Instagram person just like, I'm there at the end, they take a picture. Yeah, sure. But when someone's there and they spent the time to get there and do this work, that's a big person in that big space.
Yeah.
So like, it's almost like it's hard to show, like, you know,
so hard to show, like to try and capture actually this being in like the Wrangell St. Elias National Park. It's so big and you're like, oh yeah, they're big mountains. I live in the Coast Range. But then when you put a person in them, they're like this big compared to this big.
Yeah.
We're just so small.
That's what phones are good for. The iPhone is the best at taking a small person because you
zoom.
Because you can't zoom because it sucks, right? So you have to take the iPhone is meant to put big person, small person, big landscape.
I've been saying for years, I'm going to shoot a whole campaign 1 year just on an iPhone.
Do you shoot film anymore? You ever shot film? Do you like arts? Are you like artsy, nerdy shit?
I do, but it's like I have a camera that has film in it, but it's just so much more instant to shoot digital. And honestly, I'd rather just take my phone on those days and be more creative that way. Yeah,
because my dad used to shoot photography, and he used to develop film when I was young. He developed film in the basement, and I didn't really get into photography because he was like a teacher and stuff. But
was he a photography teacher?
No, he's a principal.
Okay.
He was a referee. Almost made it to the NHL, but then just decided to become a teacher. Yeah, he knows all the old NHL guys, and then he refereed the World Juniors in Russia in like '82.
What?
But he's a principal at school for a long time, and then he was always a photographer. He's always like, you gotta get the shot. He said that to me, and my dad. He's so funny, but like. I have his camera here now. Yeah. He passed away, but he was like, that's the shot, son, that's the shot. He would come out here and be like, and he would like, he used to shoot, he was the race manager for Nancy Green ski racing in Ontario in his later years, in his twilight years. Yeah. And then he was in a Miata club, Miata cars. He used to be the photographer of the Miata car.
Oh yeah, right. Because didn't you leave your car?
Yeah, we sold it because it's a Miata. Yeah. But they're worth it. They're fucking. Yeah. I have a friend of mine, Dave Emerald, got one. It's legit. But anyway, so. I don't know what's going with this because I totally just tracked out.
We're talking about cameras and photography. But
thanks, Ange. Ange, professional photographer, everybody. Just so you guys don't know.
We finally got back to cameras and photography. But you said something about Nancy Green, so I totally got distracted because I once had cocktails with her.
I don't know what else. Oh, really? I never met her. She sounds probably awesome. Yeah, she's probably lovely.
She was great.
Yeah, I heard she's lovely.
Yeah, super great.
And
I lived on Nancy Green Drive.
Did you tell her that? You probably told her that, right? Yeah, she's like, Ange, I've heard that before. Yeah, it's after me. I was there.
You live
in
Lakegold.
There. I actually fucking lived there because it's named after me. Yeah. Oh, you mean I lived on? Yeah, for sure. I don't know what I was getting at with that, but
NFL coach.
Film.
Yeah.
And NHL, not NFL.
NFL. No.
NHL.
Oh, NHL.
Hockey.
I was thinking my mind went straight to football.
I talk super fast. Okay. So, but I remember just like, you know, and I have friends who still shoot films, and I always had this like. People have this like romantic thought of film, like Daniel Pendergrass, for example. Yeah, I can imagine he's just like wrapping film around his face. Right. So, but like, there's this romantic side of photography which I think might be lost. Do you think it's lost because there's no film? Because it's like because film was so delicate, and if you fucked it up, it was done.
Yeah.
Like if it was like when you're developing it, if these don't work out, you don't know till it's done. And my only question to you about photography today, and that is the romance gone because of such a difficult time to get that photo, and if it didn't work out, you couldn't do it again?
Define romance.
The idea that it could be lost forever if it wasn't done right the first time.
Yeah, I think I can't really come up with the right word, but I think like how precious every shot is lost for sure. Like I can shoot and rapid fire and a lot, and I'm a creative processor actually in camera. I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm naturally talented genius that just like, oh, I see the shot and then like I kind of try a couple of different things. You only see my final shots. I try a couple of different things to find the shot, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one. And then I move on. But I think that I actually wish I had spent more time in the film slide world to be more intentional. Like I have 32 shots or 4 rolls of film, and to make every frame count. I don't know 100% if it's because I do it for work as opposed to just start with the art. Because I think if I had the luxury of time, I would be more intentional per frame. Right. But I have multiple products to shoot in a day, and the snow's warming, and like all those things are happening.
Which is almost harder because you have to get, even though you can go, you still have to be in the spot to get it. And I don't see you as being somebody who just lets it fire. You probably do like. I feel you more like you're trying to only have a few shots to look through. You don't want to have. You're not going to hammer them through. Just have like 400 million shots. You're like, I need to go and get 5 shots to look through, and that's what I need.
Yeah, I wouldn't say 5, but yes, sure. I'm kind of in between those two. Like I don't just shoot a ton of unnecessary stuff. I'm pretty intentional with what I shoot, but I'm not shooting one frame. And I think to come back to your question about is it lost because we're shooting more than just one frame, I don't think it is, because I think that it still exists. You can still go buy film and you can shoot like that. Right. Just commercially, that doesn't work as well as if I was doing a gallery show.
That's why it's more.
I would absolutely do that.
I feel like it's more like it's gone, and I'm not saying photography is not art.
Yeah.
But I think it's gone from more utility in the film side of like it's now art. Yeah. Yeah. Where it's like painting, things you're doing. Where I know photography is art, and I'm not saying it's not at all, because it totally is. But like I think it's gone. I think digital as age is made. I don't know. I mean, it's all pretty standard, pretty obvious.
I think it depends what you shoot and what you and like why you're using photography.
Especially with action sports, things are happening so fast. Like digital helped it out. Digital made it better because you it's such a fleeting moment to have those people ski by you, or I mean, climbing is different because people just hang there. But like, I think it has helped to get those shots, because how many things get missed because it was film back then? How many shots got missed because of film? Probably a lot.
Yeah, but I think you would have been like I think
like when you mentioned Paul Morrison, that's why I brought it up, because I was thinking Paul Morrison he worked in film and then moved into digital. Yeah. So he's like, he knows what it's like to have 2 chances or 1 chance.
I think that Paul was the first person that I actually went to like asked him if he'd be my mentor, because I really respected how good of a photographer he was technically, and I think that I would have become a better technical photographer faster if I had to have learned more on.
You're forced to, probably.
Yeah. Right. Because I actually think the OGs in the industry, whether it's not just ski, but like Joe McNally comes to mind. He was.
They still shoot based on how much they have with film. They know their settings so well. When they're shooting film, they're like, I have 2 shots together, so I'm going to fuck it up. But now they're like, they know their settings well. Like even if it's digital, they know it's like, and we get it, because they know they're used to having that.
Well, they had to have their technical skills dialed, because they only, especially like if you think about war photographers.
Oh my God.
Back, and they would, or even Nat Geo photographers, so the assignments would be 3 months long or 2 months long. They would never be able to see a single photo. Right. And then actually the Nat Geo photographers would send back their photos to an editor. Yeah. And that's the first time they'd see it, which would give me like, oh, that would be so.
I remember like when I was a kid, a good friend of my father, his son was a photographer, and it was like they'd get film, they have to fucking like paint on, like to fix it with I'm like, that's a different level.
It is a different level, but I kind of wished I had have lived in that Nat Geo era a bit more, because I think I love, like a big part of my job, it's changing a bit because we're just moving a lot faster these days, but a big part, like a couple of years ago, I did a whole season in Greenland, and I came up like with the creative concepts with the team, and we did so much of the pre-production, and then I shot it, and then I came back, and it was like, it wasn't a light table, but it was that kind of experience. We put all the images on the wall, and then we went through and selected them, which I went to Nat Geo a couple of years ago, and that's like what they kind of still do. Like the photographer would do an assignment, send back the images, finally come back, and then the photo editor, the photo director, and the photographer would sit in this room and just like put the story together. Like it was so
That's cool.
like tactile. Whereas these days it's just like, here's your images, here's your images, here's your images.
I think our own
so the romanticism is not gone.
Yeah. I don't think it's gone, but I think
changed.
I think it's photographers are romanticists. People who need the photos aren't.
Yes.
Like the photographers want to keep the romance going, I think. But there's people who are like, anybody who in a business who's like, hey, I'm at an agency, I have to have these things happening. A true agency, I think what's happening now is everything's so turn and burn. The trueness of it all has got to be gone. If you're looking to stick your foot in the sand and be like, this is what I'm doing right now, you're then the guy who's shooting film and being a very creative, sitting it and like looking at it. If you're like, move, I want to like you, there is a divide happening, I think, in like the art versus just pumping it out.
Yeah.
And getting stuff done.
I think you're 100% right in that the romanticism, if you're a fine art photographer, it's 100% still there. You're going out, and I think about like a landscape fine art photographer, you're still going out to create that one image, Ansel Adams-esque. And that's like your mission for the day. Whereas if I shoot landscape, I'm also shooting product, skiing, action. Like
you gotta come home with 10, 15 photos from that day.
But that's because that's my job and it's commercial.
Yeah.
So I think the romanticism is still in there. It's still in there mixed a bit for me in the like I can put these stories together after, but not in the technicality of film.
I think the romanticism comes from the storytelling, and then the other side is the technicality of the romance of like that fleeting moment where it could be gone, because the fleeting moment's also when it's photos taken and when it's being developed back then.
Yeah.
And now it's the fleeting moments like when the photo's taken, that's it, and it's like, well, the moment's a little less fleeting, but I think you do what I think what you're doing does the technical side of it justice. Like you're good at what you do, and you could just take one photo. Like I've seen what you do for 10 years, and I think there's like, you just got to make sure you don't get lost in that like machine pumping out the photos.
Yeah. I think if I slowed down,
sorry, go ahead.
No,
you can't slow down. I don't think you're like, I don't know if you could ever. I think it's just in you to not slow down.
I would like to think I can slow down, but you're right. Like I just brain all the time. But I really like I worked with Jordan Manley on that Problem Solvers, and like
he's methodical, I think.
And he is raw talent. I do not have that raw talent. It's like in school when the person gets A's, I have to work so hard. And I'm not saying Jordan doesn't work hard, but he's just got this raw innate artist built into him, and I don't feel like I'm an artist at all. And I think that like just to take the romantic, like he's so good at creating, even in a commercial world, he's creating art. So I think there's certain people, maybe it's not divided as easily as I said, it's more about the person.
Sure.
Because there's people that are still bringing the art into the world.
Well, it needs both. You can't have
through commercial work.
You can't have a fast car that's some slow moving guy who designed the car. You can't have these things. So like for what you do, it needs to happen. What he does needs to happen. Like there's a reason why you think fast when you're doing what you do, is because that's what you're made to do, and you'll be able to take these photos quick and get stuff done. Where he's like, he needs to take his time and think about his art doing stuff, but you can smash out what needs to be done in a very high quality way. Like you're no discount, just different avenues.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from him, and I still continue to learn from him, and just to be a little bit like move more intentionally, because he's so intentional. It's not that I think he moves slower, it's just he moves with intention. Everything he does is with intention. It's so well thought out, and I was so lucky to work on that project with him and Lisa Richardson actually, because we talked
shout
about
out Lisa
so
Richardson
much.
and Jordan Manley. Boom.
Yeah, Lisa, you got to come on this show.
Yeah. I have a question for you. We have been like an hour and 20 minutes now or so, almost an hour and a half. Do you do any other art? Do you paint? Do you do anything else? Like what's on your side? Like I know you're.
No, I don't paint. I'm a stick figure. Like
you draw
stick figures. Like if I had to, if I have to pitch something, it's all stick figures. They're skiers and they've got skis on the bottom. Right. No, I'd say the one actually got I wanted to go to fashion school after. Like before, I was going to come to Canada for a year and then go back and go to fashion school because I really love textiles. Right. Like I love working. I don't want to be a fashion designer. I really love like weirdly haute couture, like runway stuff, the art of that. Yeah. So I don't do it. Like I don't sew a ton. I don't sew anymore actually at all. But that's the thing I love to do with my hands. Like I love to create with my hands. But no, I wouldn't say I don't suddenly watercolor on the side.
Are you at home like... taking photos of like your couch to get this like to figure out your camera more? Like, are you always like it's your tool, right?
No, I'm a learn on the go kind of person. I wouldn't get a new camera and just go on the next shoot. Like I don't like that,
right.
but like I love learning on the fly. I love learning with real situations. Like I learned to be a photographer through Arc'teryx. Like I learned on the job.
I remember you
literally.
telling me that. Yeah, for sure. That's where the wash was so bad, but
yeah, me too.
Yeah, we can take a break for a second. Yeah, and then we'll come back and we can chat and finish it off. Yeah, cool. And then, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I was like, I can't.
No, I'm so glad you did because it was like hurting.
Yeah, I'll cut this part out.
Good.
And we're back. Well, we're back washing break, yeah, because this happens in an hour and a half. But
and we're drinking really tall cans.
Yeah, I don't know where we're at with that, but
we went on art, which I think was it was a really good spot to
finish it off at. Well, Ange Percival, I was awesome. It was cool. I haven't talked to you in a long time.
I know it makes me miss out commutes.
I saw you in Lot 8 the other day with Justin. You guys were doing the last up, and we were but I'm happy you came on the show. It's really great.
Yeah, thanks for
it's cool.
thanks so much for having me. It was good to see you.
Yeah, it was good
to spend time with you.
Yeah, I think it's great. We should do it again, of course.
Yes.
And
come bike.
Yeah, I'll come down. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna travel from town to town. I don't care. Sorry.
No recreation travel.
No,
it's necessary.
It's necessary. You know what? We need to stay alive. So,
yes.
But no, thanks for coming on. It's awesome. We had a great chat. Hopefully didn't end off and leave anybody hanging on our chat. But if you want to find Ange Percival, you can find her in the mountains somewhere. You can find her on Instagram at Ange Percival.
Yeah, and message me for sure.
Yeah, message her.
She
loves talking to people.
Yeah.
And you can find me, I don't know, you can find me on Proctagon. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me here on the podcast. But
and YouTube.
YouTube, yeah, for sure. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no
thanks.
Do you have a website?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I have Casual with Ryan Proctor Instagram account, but it's empty. It just says standby, so deal with that. If you want to follow me, go ahead. But no, Ange, awesome. It was great talking to you for sure. It's always fun.
I think you mean to say it's coming. Your content's coming on that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, at some point. I don't know. I'll get it up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it just says standby right now.
Oh, it says standby?
Yeah, it's a standby. I think I spelled
Keep on standing by.
I spelled standby wrong, too. Stand by me, I guess.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
so
let's do it again for sure.
Yeah.
Subscribe, please, because if you don't subscribe, I actually don't subscribe. You can listen to it. Cool.
Thanks.